Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Schrock. I'm the Executive Director for the National Quilt Museum. And with us today is the legendary Ted Storm. Ted is, you're in the Netherlands.
Yes, I am.
And Ted is one of our collection quilters. She's taught at the National Quilt Museum. She's taught for the American Quilter Society. And we are in her secret space right now. And I was telling Ted when I first started at the museum, I walked into the gallery. I'd been here many times, but the day that I started, I walked in and there was her quilt Elated, which we'll show in this video at some point, and it just captivated me. And I thought, I really need to meet this lady. So I'm kind of fangirling right now. And I'm so delighted, Ted, to be with you in your studio, and you have a gorgeous quilt behind you. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bonnie.
So let's talk about, there's so many things. You just told me before we started recording that you have decided to retire.
Yeah.
And so, but I see the work that you're doing behind you, and there's a lot more creativity in Ted Storm. So tell me about where you are right now in your quilting journey, and bring us up to speed on all the things you're doing.
Well, I started off as a teacher of textile art in high school level for almost 22 years. And then I was introduced to quilting. Quilting took over. I ended my job at school and started to create quilts. And from then, I met in '88, I met a quilter from the USA, Lois Ide from Bucyrus, Ohio. And we just briefly met, exchanged a piece of fabric, and she invited me to come over. And that year, it was my Easter holiday at school. She introduced me to all kinds of techniques. I had no way to find any books or anything. And these were techniques from her mom. So she shared the techniques. And as a trained textile teacher, I could very easily adjust all these techniques. So from there, I took off. And to thank her, I wanted to make a quilt. I could not make an American quilt. On my way up to the USA, I'd never been in a plane before then. I wanted to know everything from Amish. But on my way back, after that week with Lois, I thought, how can I thank an American lady for all the techniques she shared with me? I can't do it in an Amish quilt. So I took a plate from my grandma, Delft ware, which I absolutely didn't like. So I took that plate, made a quilt with all her techniques in it. And that's the quilt I entered in competition for the first time. I never knew there was competition. I was completely new to the quilt world. And that's the quilt Lois brought me over to the museum. We had a meeting with Meredith and had my quilt on the table there. And from there, I knew more about AQS and the gilt type. And from there, I started to make more quilts and, enter it in competition in America. And that's how I took off. And then after all these years of teaching and creating a nice quilt during all those periods to balance my hectic life, I am now there that I've been there, done that. So it's 55 years of work, of teaching. And I think now I'd like to go, a little bit more in retirement, So now my plan is to finish work. I'm not inspired by that, but I need to finish work. And behind me is the quilt the design is inspired by a plate Lois wanted to give to me but I took pictures. And when she passed away, she passed in 2010, I think. Yeah, she passed, and I was still working on ElaTED then. So after ElaTED, it took a lot of time before I could even, get to make a final quilt of our quilting friends relationship with Lois. And then I made this quilt, and that's the center. I don't know whether you can see it. It's an octagon.
Yeah, if you move the camera down just
Well,
a little bit so we can see that.
Yeah,
Oh,
here you
yeah.
see it's an octagon.
Oops.
And it's an octagon is for eternal life. You can see the octagon there. And so it's a fairly simple quilt, just two repeats, that's it. But what I on purpose did completely different, I did not want to repeat again the refined work you see in ElaTED.
Mm-hmm.
And in Spring of Desire, that also was a best of show quilt in 2008, I think, about that time. So I've been there, done that. So I thought I should just forget every intricate technique and try to do it big and bold. And so that's how I did it. And I struggled because guess what? It was the hardest quilt. This was way more hard on me than ElaTED.
That is hard to believe. In what way?
Well, I don't know whether you.
Well, they're both fantastic quilts, and I want to talk about ElaTED in just a moment. But when I look at this quilt, the design is it just grabs me. It's so beautiful.
Well, and to get back to the design, well, maybe you can see it's. Maybe I can point it out. I have to look at it. This here, all the way to the edge, up. That's one repeat. And there's another repeat to the top. And that's it. So only two repeats. But every repeat, of course, I executed a bit different. Mm-hmm. But if you have made tiny circles, about 1/4 inch size, I've been there, done that. So I thought, no, I make big circles. Well, guess what? Mm-hmm. That's the hardest to get them round and not end in an egg shape. So, my golly, I had a hard time. I worked several years on this quilt because I could not completely control it. So, but that's how it got there, and it's my sort of final goodbye to Lois and our 22 years old friendship. And she was 30 years older than me. She passed when she was 90. And she invited me to come over. And when she grew older, I kept going to their house. And when she grew older, I was still teaching. So back to the teaching everywhere in Europe and America and other countries. And that's when I met Karen. So that's the lady sitting across me. And Karen was one of my students in France. And she was there by herself in that group. And when we introduced ourselves, she said, well, I'm Karen Whiteside. I'm from Marion, Ohio. I said, well, I know that because, no, she said, no, you don't know. It's Marion, Ohio. I said, yeah, because Lois lived in Bucyrus, Ohio. That's 20 minutes away from it. So we connected. Can you imagine in that world that you meet a girl, So when Lois grew older, I could stay at her house and get a car, drive up to Lois, and we found out that she said, well, where do you live? I said, well, in Schravenzande. She said, where it is? Is it near Schiedam? I said, Schiedam, she says. I said, yeah, that's 20 minutes from where I live. So, and they are every year here with a cup, softball cup with sports. So now she's here again, almost yearly basis. So ever since Lois passed, I still have quilting sis left. So I think that's amazing. And I think she has Dutch genes.
I do.
Somewhere.
Yeah, my grandparents were born here.
Grandparents were born here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you, I quote Esther Miller's motto all the time, that quilting connects more than 3 layers of fabric.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that has really been my inspiration to connect our greater community to quilting and help them understand and see the beauty, the artistic ability, and just the well-being aspect.
Yes, and it's not just to create but we are working together here. I'm sitting on an old quilt, quilting by hand, and she's doing her stitches. So we are quite comfortable. My husband sits downstairs. That's good. I don't have a big room. I asked Karen, what do you have an impression? What's the size of my room? She said it's 11 by 12. That's my room. And my table, where everything is made on, it's 39 by 78. That's all. So all my big stuff is made in this room.
Well, I am dying to see your room. Do you mind showing us your studio?
No.
There we go. Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will go. This is my stairway.
Oh, goodness.
Stairway to heaven. We have no landing. So when I exit the room, I can fall into that hole there.
Oh, goodness. Be careful.
Yeah, we are careful. But we have racing bikes upstairs. So we drag our bikes two steps down. Stairs down. And so that's why we have no landing. But that's... So then you enter my room. And that's the table.
That's where the magic happens.
Oh, yeah. That's it. That's all. And then you see my sewing machine, my design wall. And that's the quilt I'm working on. And that used to be one of Esther's daughter-in-law family had an antique quilt that way. And Esther and we thought, oh gosh, let's make one. And but Esther finished hers, but I did it all by hand and I'm a bit slow. So I'm still working on the quilting, but it's done. And this tulip in it is the tulip I was teaching applique classes with Esther Miller. And I did that for 14 years. So here you see my table, and the table can, I'll try to do it. If I press it here, you can see I can stand on it right now. So I erased it. Now it's on a higher level. It's my navel height. So here is my table. I can lift and put it up and down. And here is my ironing section. I'm charging my iPad. And here you see Carl and Lois. You see Carl and Lois. And this is the fabric we exchanged with her name. And you see her picture with me when I won Best of Show at NQS some year. But that was not ElaTED. It was another quilt. So, and now you want to see my fabric. Yes.
I do.
Here it is.
Oh, my goodness.
So everything is in a drawer. So according to the color wheel, so every fabric has its own drawer. Okay. And according to the color wheel. So I can go on.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm organized, but it's small. So cupboard, and here are my threads in there. So that's it. And I store my quilts right there.
Oh, okay.
So now you have an overview of my small room.
Wow. Well, it's extremely efficient, which I know the Dutch are known for. So tell me about, I'm so drawn in by ElaTED. So tell
Yes.
me the story of ElaTED. I know you've probably done that before, but it'll be my
Good.
first time hearing it.
Yeah. Well, ElaTED started simply because I was teaching color class, and I always inspire the students, pick out the color you hate the most and use that color as a base to create something beautiful, a beautiful quilt. And so, and that worked wonderfully. So I decided I have always inspired students to do that. I never did. And I really hate, I can't say, I do not like plaids. I do not like yellow. So then I found, and I don't like browns. So then I found a plaid fabric, a brownish one, a sort of a brown one. And I took that fabric, and from there I saw there were red lines. There was a bit of a red thread, a green thread, a blue thread, but the color was not beige. It was like a mustard sort of brown. And so that was my color thing. And I liked to go to Delft, and I saw a plate over there, and I may like it. So I start playing with the design, and I had made 1/4 of the design, yeah, the plus, to a plus and a diagonal. That's all I had at that time, and the center, the plus. So I designed a portion. I got to the fabrics. I prepared all the fabrics. I washed them all. So I like to prepare my fabrics using retain, because if you don't prepare your fabric and you work for several years on a quilt, your quilt will be dirty and you'd like to wash it. So many times I got students or friends or quilters asking me, what do you do when your quilt bleeds? My quilts never bleed because I'm prepared. So I really sew so all my the fabrics I like to work with, these are the fabrics I wash, I rinse, I put retain on, I iron, etc. So that's taken care of. And then I worked on the design. I worked on 1/8 of a portion. And then I decided, okay, I would like to do all 8 a different design. So the center plus and the corner is the same design, but not always the same fabric. But the center plus, the plus, that portion of the design is the same fabric all over. And so I created a challenge myself to do 8 different designs and sort of try to hide it. So at first glance, you never have the impression that there are 8 different designs there. So then I didn't like the color, I didn't like the fabrics, but I like to play with the design. And that's why I started to like the quilt more and more and more. And yeah, that's how it ended there.
Well, it is so stunning, and we have on our museum label that it is not a symmetrical design.
Oh, but at first you think it is.
Yeah. And so it requires you to really study it and look deeply into the quilt to find the differences that are subtle, but they're it's just amazing. And the handwork, How old were you when you started quilting?
Ooh, I have to think. I've always been working on refined textile techniques since I was a kid. So then I had my education for textile art, including all refined techniques. And so it has always been included in my life, the textiles. But so refined skills were there. And I used, I think about 5 years I worked for ElaTED. But when I started, I think I was in my mid-30s. Then I really quilting sort of took over. Yeah. And then I decided I skip the tedding, I skip the knitting, I skip the weaving, and all these techniques I know, I've been teaching it. I skipped everything to just focus on quilting only. So from there, teaching, you develop more and more and more. Yeah.
So how do you care for your hands? Because there's a lot of tension.
Well, you can see I suffer. I'm waiting for a new surgery for my thumb. I have a trigger thumb now. But that's not an issue. I think as long as you try to use your hands, you can still work with it. But I can't do it for 10 hours a day anymore. So what I do is shorter periods, more breaks, but still I'm busy with working with my working on my quilt.
Right. So let's talk about some of your tools. What kind of thimble do you use?
This is the thimble. It's a Roxanne thimble, and I prefer a silver one. I'm a girl. I like silver, so I like to protect my hands. I have a needle puller, and this is my favorite one. I know they come with some attachment somewhere, but I took it off. I don't know where, but there was something here that I could cut a thread with it, but I took it off. And this is how I wear it. So if you have your hands like this, if you move your hand, it will not twist and turn. So while pulling your needle, you just press this, and it doesn't put any tension on your joints. So this is not hard. So that's more. Oh, and on my thumb, I have my own thumb thimble, but it's no longer produced. The company stopped. I had a how do you call it, a patent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had 2 patents on it, and it was available since I think early 2000.
Yeah. It was after we met.
Yeah, that's when we met.
Yeah.
And Karen's background has something to do with patents. So she said, "Do you have a patent on that one?" No. And she said, "Oh, you should." But the thimble, it only has one hole, and for me, I can quilt in any direction. So towards me, it's that I use my normal thimble, but away from my body, I use my thumb. So,
okay.
And a spoon underneath.
Ask about that.
So that's it.
So you don't have the porcelain thimble that you use to,
No.
and I'm not going to be able to describe this very well. So tell me how the spoon plays into your quilting.
If you have the spoon underneath and you have your needle there, you don't push, you just have contact. So if I enter my needle into the quilt like this, you are not allowed to be in a different angle. It could be straight, but you won't pierce it. So you just, I don't know whether you can see it, very close to the edge. When then you put your needle into the fabric, and then I hold the fabric, and then you just come up and then move forward. So it's easy if you go into the fabric with your thumb, with your middle finger and your thimble, you immediately come up. But you have those stages: starting position, bow, and a, how would I describe that? Starting position, have a lower position, put your finger there and press. So I should try to make a video.
And it takes time it takes practice to develop that.
Well,
skill. I've tried it, and my spoon wasn't big enough, I don't think.
You should be in my hands for 10 minutes and I can have you quilting.
All right, that's it. I'm coming to the Netherlands.
Okay, that's a deal. Yeah, but a lot of people already press on their needle while trying to get a different position. And that's when you're teaching, you analyze immediately what's the problem, or they keep their fingers on their needle. You're not sewing, girl, you're quilting, so there is a difference.
Mm-hmm. Now, that needle is a very long needle.
Oh, that's not for quilt. That's just to show you.
Oh,
no, this is a doll making needle. No, it's just to show you, because that needle is a size 12 and it's small. So you would probably hardly see it.
Yeah.
So that's why. That's
good.
why.
So a size 12 needle. That's,
yep.
that's, I'm making my notes here.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I think another thing that would be nice to add is I hardly quilt with quilting thread. I use Medlar silk finish 50/3, and that's the quilting thread I use the most. Because if you quilt a lot of stitches, you don't need to have a thick thread. It's not. It's there's enough thread in. So.
All right, batting, wool or cotton?
Cotton. And depending on this, I have done wool as well, but the ElaTED one and my others, this is Hobbs behind me, Hobbs 80/20, and the others are all 100% cotton. And I think it's Request. What's the brand?
Yeah,
Warm and Natural.
Quilters. Well, the Quilters Request.
Quilters Request. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. I mean, I could spend hours just talking and learning from you. And what would you say to a quilter who's out there who's really wanting to develop their handwork? Because this is not something you can reproduce on a machine.
No way. No. I think if you really like handwork, if you like embroidery, you should be able to enjoy quilting as well. I think speed is not an issue. It's the rhythm. You practice, you concentrate on a few stitches on your needle, try to have a certain distance completely okay. And that's how I would advise, if you start as a quilter, start with one stitch only, and then again one stitch only, and try to make the distance between the stitches of the same. So if you are doing one stitch at a time, focus on evenness between the stitches, and as a reward, then you're allowed for 2 stitches on your needle, so that's how students are inspired to develop their skills. If you don't do it and you do immediately stitches on your needle, you always see a gap where they have their new row of stitches. Well, if you want quality and you really want to improve yourself, it's worth to invest time, but don't try to think it will be done in a week or so. Just daily, 10 minutes a day, concentrate on your stitches, one stitch at a time for a while. So
that is fantastic. I am so elated that I've had a chance to have a conversation with you and see your current work that you're doing and reminding people that patience is rewarded.
Yeah, and I think also the joy of having time for you and not life is hectic sometimes. Everyone needs time just for yourself. And I think that's important. For me it is.
Yeah.
So
what's next for Ted Storm?
there are things developing here, but I promised myself first finish your old work. So nothing planned, nothing fancy, except maybe I'd like to share a mistake I made. People always say, your work is perfect.
Okay, well now you're going to have to spill the tea.
I will. I think it's fun because people always say, oh, you're so perfect. I'm well prepared. And I refuse to take out any stitch because that means that I've not been concentrating or, just enjoy what you're doing and do it well. But that's me. I don't know what happened, but I had finished this and then it appeared I cut it too short. I was about half an inch too short. So then I decided I simply enlarge it. So I put the same piece of fabric underneath. I applied it here, and then it says, I would given up on the quilt because of this. So I thought, okay, hold on to let go. And I left. The title is there, but it is a big mistake I made. But no one would know unless you know it now.
The lesson in that is that everything is fixable.
Yes. And also be creative. There is no quilt police. It's just you. I like to make something nice. And if you have a mistake and it bothers you, it will be bothering you for the rest of your life. So you'd better fix it. But take out stitches is not an issue with me. So I, sort of fixed it. Yeah.
That's lovely. Ted, thank you so much for your time, showing us your little secret space and helping us all figure out how do we want to organize our own little sewing space, and just sharing your wisdom and helping us become better quilters.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And that you gave me a chance to share at least. And I hope you get to me one day and I'll get you a quilting.
Okay, wonderful. So if you're ever back in the United States and can find your way back to Paducah, it would be such a pleasure to meet you in person.
Okay, well, thank you for this.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. And thank you again for your flexibility and your graciousness, Ted. It's really been a pleasure talking with you.